All right, guys, so this is your introduction to element symbols and polyatomic ions. So if you were in person this past week, I already gave this to you on paper, but if you are e-learning right now, this is probably new to you. You haven't looked at it yet. So essentially what they are is normally at the beginning of the year, I give you guys this big long list and I break it into 5 sets. And then we have random quizzes to kind of see if you have them memorized, because by the time we get to Unit 3, which is technically right now, it makes your life a whole lot easier to just know them. I'm not going to give you guys quizzes this year because there's no way for me to really make it fair, because it is just straight up memorization. And so this year, I'm just going to give you guys the big old giant list, and you're going to be able to use the list on things like tests and whatever. Um, and that will just kind of continue unless we get to a point like maybe later in the spring where everybody's in person or something like that. But for now, we just need to talk about what polyatomic ions are, the correct way to write them, stuff like that, and as well as elements. So the elements are a lot easier, okay? And I do not care how you guys write this down. You don't have to turn it in. You don't have to do anything, okay? All you have to do is have these somewhere that you can access them. So you can write them down on a piece of paper. You can annotate them directly on this document. This document is probably not the best place to kind of annotate them because there's not a lot of room to write on it. But you can kind of do what I'm going to do and kind of write on the sides or something like that, or start over somewhere else. It is really 100% your choice. So, we'll just go set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll do the elements first because those are the easy ones. So, nitrogen is easy. It is just a big old capital N. So when you see big old capital N, you should think nitrogen, and when you hear nitrogen, you should think capital N. Sulfur is a capital S. Oxygen is a capital O. Hydrogen is a capital H. Sodium is a little bit different. It is capital N, lowercase a. And yes, it matters if that A is uppercase or lowercase. If I had a capital N and a capital A, it's going to look like it might be nitrogen and then the element that's capital A. Okay, so it makes a difference whether you do these upper or lowercase, so keep that in mind. And boron is capital B. Now, most of these, right, this would normally have been from your list on the very first week of school, so you kind of already know most of these now, or you should. And then I've got a joke there to help you remember sodium. Do you know a good joke about sodium? Nah. Okay, so that's one way to help you remember it. So after that, on to set 2, we've got phosphorus, which is P. And of course, you guys really don't have to write these ones down if you don't want to, because they're on your periodic table. But you can take a few seconds and actually like locate them on the periodic table, stuff like that. Carbon is capital C. Aluminum is capital A, lowercase l. And you will notice that whenever I'm writing elements, I always do a cursive lowercase l. I never just do an L like this, because then it's a little bit harder to tell. It might be a capital I, it might be a 1, something like that. So the common thing to do is to do a lowercase kind of cursive L with the loop in it. But you certainly do not have to do that, as long as I can tell what you mean. But if it is you deliberately making it ambiguous because you don't know what you're doing, that's a problem. Okay. Copper is capital C, lowercase u, Cu. Uranium is uppercase U. Silicon is capital S, lowercase I. And argon is capital A, lowercase r. Okay, so that is all of set 2. And I've got a fun joke for you there, which is, what did the atom say when he saw the policeman's car hiding behind a tree on the highway? I see you, copper. Ha ha. Okay, set 3. Fluorine is just capital F. Chlorine is part of Brinkelhoff, so you know it's capital C, lowercase l. Bromine, capital B, lowercase r. Iodine is capital I. Gold is capital A, lowercase u. So that one's a little bit different, a little bit tricky. Silver is also a little bit tricky, and it's similar, which makes them confusing. It's capital A, lowercase g. And then mercury is capital H, lowercase g. Okay, so those 3 are a little bit weird. You can see that fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine right there, those are all halogens, group 17, but then these ones are just weird. Gold is AU, silver AG, mercury HG, and a joke for that is, AU, want some gold? To help you remember your AU. No, it's not what I wanted. Ooh, I'll just do this. Okay. Set 4. Elements are manganese, which is capital M, lowercase n. Chromium, which is capital C, lowercase r. It can't just be regular C because of carbon. Magnesium, not to be confused with manganese. Magnesium is Mg. So those get a little bit confusing, but you can remember it because manganese has an N before the G, so it gets an N. And magnesium has a G before the N, so it gets the G. Okay. Iron, it's a weird one. It's Fe, capital F, little e. Lithium is capital L, lowercase I. Neon is capital N, lowercase e. And beryllium is capital B, lowercase e. Okay, so set 4, just a bunch of random ones. Manganese and magnesium are the easier ones to get confused there, of course. And the joke for this is, cats are composed of iron, lithium, and neon. Feline. Okay. And set 5 is my last ones, which are calcium, which is capital C, lowercase a. Tin, which is capital S, lowercase n. It's another weird one. Zinc, it's capital Z, lowercase n. Helium, it's capital H, little e. And potassium, which should be kind of familiar to you by now, is just big old capital K. So tell me a joke about potassium. K. Okay, that's our joke. So this is all of our elements. And I'm going to go ahead and stop this video, and on the next one we'll talk about ions, which I promise you will be a little bit more interesting and relevant to you because they are more difficult and not directly on your periodic table.